Hi everyone, my name is Gloria Ines Garcia and this is my student art analysis critique video. So for my art critique video, I had trouble deciding which museum to go visit. I was indecisive with which museum to go visit as we live in Los Angeles and we were lucky to have so many options for art museums. I decided to go to the Getty Center and go look at all the wonderful art and scenery that the museum has to offer. During my time visiting the Getty Museum, I came across many artworks that were beautiful and tempting to write on. However, a specific painting at the Getty Museum was the one that caught my eye since it was by an artist I have known about my whole life. The painting that caught my eye was Irises by Vincent van Gogh, which is a part of the Getty's permanent collection. Vincent van Gogh was a world famous Dutch painter who was considered one of the greatest post impressionist artists due to his impressive brushwork and striking color palette. Van Gogh was the eldest of 6 children and was described to be a quiet, self contained person spending his free time wandering around the countryside and exploring nature. He was 16 years old when he was apprenticed to the hog branch of the art dealers Groupil and Co., of which his uncle was a partner. Throughout the experience working around works of art, it aroused his artistic sensibility. He did not like the art dealing aspect of it, but he grew an appreciation for art nonetheless. His life, however, took a turn and darkened when he was rejected by his love and was left with a longing for human connection. Vincent van Gogh also suffered with his mental illness. Perhaps one of the most infamous stories is the story of him cutting his own ear off. It is believed that the incident happened because of a fight between himself and Paul Gauguin, the artist with whom he was working with in Arles, which was a hospital he was receiving treatment from for his illness. Van Gogh's illness caught up to him and he had an episode where he grabbed a knife and cut his own ear off. It was said that Van Gogh suffered from hallucination and would lose consciousness because of his mental illness. Although his artistic career was very short, lasting only about 10 years, he left behind many iconic pieces and his paintings are still talked about today. The color piece I wanted to talk about today is Irises. Irises by Vincent van Gogh is a still life oil painting that he did in 1889 during his time at the psychiatric hospital in St. Remy after a few episodes of self mutilation, which was the cutting the ear off. During his stay at St. Remy, he worked on irises in the Asylum Gardens. Vincent considered iris to be a study. However, his brother Theo quickly noticed how beautiful and of good quality the painting is and submitted it to the Independence in September of 1889. Each one of the flowers is carefully crafted. There is great attention to detail in how each flower is uniquely shaped and appears to look light and appears to be moving. Irises by Vincent van Gogh is an iconic artwork and is culturally significant because Vincent van Gogh created this painting at a time where he was going through a lot emotionally and mentally. He created this during his time at the mental health hospital and painted this painting with emotion, which is what post-impressionist artists focused on versus impressionist movement, where artists focused more on things like light and shadow. Van Gogh's use of color in this painting are part of what makes this painting so significant. He strayed away from the natural color palette that the impressionists used. He decided to paint the irises a bright blue color and set them against contrasting green foliage and yellow accents that are not at all natural and therefore breaking tradition. Van Gogh also expresses his emotions through this painting. He was definitely emotional during this time of creating and going through a lot with his mental health. He also used large, bold brush lines that gave a feeling of intensity to viewers. His use of line is also prominent as we see that how he doesn't use any straight lines. He uses wavy lines in order to convey movement of the irises. The texture in irises is also significant because it looks like the painting is lifted in a way and appears bumpy, which we are not used to seeing since impressionists were used to their paintings being smooth. The texture is new and something that people during that time have not yet seen. Together, the colors, texture, and brush strokes give an almost intense feeling of madness, while still being beautiful. This painting is very personal and emotional, and the viewers can sense that when looking at it. This was breaking away from traditional norms that we saw in the Impressionist movement. As I looked around more at the gallery, I stumbled across another still life that caught my eye. The said still life is an oil painting by Paul Cézanne titled Still Life with Apples. Paul Cézanne was a French Impressionist painter born January of 1839 to a well-off bourgeoisie family and received a classical education at the College Bourbon in Aix. His father wanted Paul to pursue a law career and be successful, so Cézanne entered the law school of the University of Aix in Provence. However, he did not like law school, and since an early age, Cézanne wanted to pursue a career in the arts. After 2 years, he convinced his father to allow him to study painting in Paris. Cézanne's work as a painter is said to be groundwork for the transition from the 19th century conception of artistic endeavor to a new and radically different world of art in the 20th century. It is said that Paul Cézanne is the bridge between the late 19th century Impressionism and early 20th century new line of artistic inquiry, Cubism. Cubism heavily influenced many artists such as Pablo Picasso and Matisse. Paul Cézanne was a French painter, often called the father of modern art, who strove to develop an ideal synthesis of naturalistic representation, personal expression, and abstract work. Cézanne's work went beyond the natural representation that we saw in the Impressionist movement. I feel that the objects in the still life with the apples have more volume and weight rather than it to be a flat, fleeting movement. I also feel that the way the objects are placed suggests that they're intentionally placed there, giving the viewer the chance to ask why is it there and what it could mean. His use of color remains more on the natural color side that the Impressionists used, but his brushwork is what is different, and it is how he models form. He applies the paint in a thick consistency, adding texture to this painting. The use of line in this painting is also significant because it is softer and not precise, which gives a more fluid feeling to the painting. We also see some negative space in the background, but the way Cézanne painted the background gives it depth, and it feels active and like it is one with the composition to the viewer. Together with Cézanne's use of line and space and color, he creates a more complex, multidimensional understanding of the world. The apples in the painting become more than just fruit, but objects in space, and they are not defined by their appearance alone, but by their relationship to one another in the environment. In conclusion, Vincent van Gogh and Paul Cézanne are both significant figures in the post-impressionist movement. Their approach to painting reveal distinct artistic techniques that set them apart. Cézanne's still life with apples is an example of how his use of color, line, and space challenges traditional perspectives, and Vincent van Gogh's irises is characterized by expressive, vibrant color and dynamic brushstrokes that convey intense emotions. Both artists reject the traditional approaches Impressionists made and reacted to it in their own unique manner that was expressive and pushed boundaries.